Okay, and this video is just notes. Make sure you take them down, and every problem is pretty much the same exact procedure. We have 3x plus 1, that's a polynomial, and we have 2x minus 5, that's a polynomial. But there is no operation sign between them. Well, then that means it's a times operation. So how do you multiply two polynomials? Well, here's what you would do. It's a little procedure known as the FOIL method, okay? Here's what FOIL stands for. This here, what I've done is I've written the same problem in 4 different boxes. You're not going to do that, okay? It's just me explaining. First, we're going to distribute 3x to 2x, and that's F, that stands for first, so because I'm multiplying the first thing in each parentheses. So 3x times 2x, I'd put 1s there. 3 plus 2 is 6, 1 plus 1 is 2. All right, then I distribute the 3x to the negative 5. So 3x times negative 5 would be, you can put a 1 there, but nothing there. So negative 15, that'd be x to the 1. Now that's O because you're multiplying the two outer terms. Okay, now I'm pretty much done with the 3x at this point. Now I do distribute the 1 to the 2x. So it's 1 times 2x, that'd be a 1, x to the first. So 1 times 2 is 2, and I just have the 1 as the exponent. And that's called I, the inner, because you're taking the two inner terms. And then L is last, okay? So I take the two last terms, 1 to negative 5. 1 times negative 5 is negative 5. Now I had 6x to the second, negative 15x to the first, and 2x to the 1, and negative 5. Now, some of these ended up with the same power, which we're going to have to deal with. But first, I want you to know what FOIL means. First, outer, inner, last. Okay, now here's another way to think about it the way I prefer. Okay. What I like to do in FOIL is circle the first number in the first parentheses. First off, make sure all your x's have numbers in front, 3 and 2. So we're good there. So I circle the 3x, and I'm going to forget about the plus 1 for a minute. Okay, pretend it's not even there. What I'm going to do is distribute 3 to 2. So that would be 3x times 2x. I'll figure that out after I get the rest of the products written down. Now I take the 3 and distribute it to the negative 5. But it's 3x times negative 5. Okay, and that pretty much takes care of the 3. Now I do the same thing with the 2, but I go underneath with the rainbows. So I take 1 times 2, but it's 1 times 2x. And then I take 1 times negative 5. There are no x's on either one, so it's 1 times negative 5. Okay, so put exponents on your x's when you're multiplying. So that's a 1, 1, 1, nothing there, nothing, and a 1. And then nothing at all. So 3 times 2 is 6, and then on the x I take 1 plus 1, which is 2. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15, and then I just put a 1 because that's the only exponent I have. 1 times 2 is 2, and then x, and we just put a 1. And 1 times negative 5 is negative 5, and that product doesn't even have an x. Now, did some of these powers on the x's, you had a second power, a first power, and a first power. Now, you have a couple that are the same, so here's what you do with that. X second is the highest, so blank x to the second. You got to pay attention more than you did in the other one. Plus blank x plus blank. When they're all different, you don't really have to worry about the blanks, but when they're the same, you got to be opening your eyes. So x to the second, the only x to the second is here, that's 6. So I put a 6 in that space and just cross that out. Now x, remember x means x to the first. So I got to find my x to the first. And I have a negative 15 and I have a 2. So I have to add these together, okay? Plus them together. Negative 15 plus 2. So negative 15 plus 2 is negative 13. So I'm going to put a negative 13 on the x, and then we can cross those out. And then for constants, all I have is a negative 5. Okay, and that's your product. 6x to the second plus negative 13x plus negative 5. Okay, again, that's exactly what I did. It's FOIL, first, outer, inner, last. So again, no signs between the parentheses means multiplication, so that will be the FOIL method. Okay, so make sure all your x's have numbers in front. So that has a 2, that has a 1. So I'm going to forget about the plus 3, positive 3, pretend it's not even there. And I'm going to distribute 2 to 1, which is 2x multiplied by 1x. I'm going to distribute 2 to negative 5, which is 2x times negative 5. And we'll figure out the products after we get the four multiplications written down. And the 2x is done, finished, okay? Don't worry about that. Now I take positive 3 times 1x, and I take positive 3 times negative 5. You're basically distributing every term in the first parentheses to every term in the second, if you want to think of it that way. Now your x's will need power since you're multiplying, so 1, 1, 1, 1, and nothing. So 2 times 1 is 2, and then x, 1 plus 1 is 2, so 2x to the second. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10, and then we just have the 1, so it's x to the 1. 3 times 1 is 3, and then just be the x to the 1, because you don't have anything to add. And then 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. Now again, you had x to the second, x to the first, x to the first. So we have x to the first repeated. So I need to draw out my spaces. So x to the second's first. So blank x to the second plus blank x plus blank. So I look up x to the second. Well, right here I have 2, and that's the only one I have. Then x means you're looking for x to the first. So you got negative 10 and 3. And you always add those, okay? Never always add them. Negative 10 plus 3. That's negative 7. Okay? And then we have the negative 15 as the constant. So that's your answer. 2x to the second plus negative 7x plus negative 15. Okay, now on my next problem. 6x minus 3 times 4x minus 1. So again, it's another FOIL whenever we have the multiplication. So let's look at our 6. We distribute the 6 to everything in the second. So 6x, 6 times 4, 6x multiplied by 4x. And then we still have to distribute the 6 to the negative 1. Before I move to that negative 3, I have to distribute the 6 to everything in here. And also one other thing, never do a rainbow or a distribution with 2 terms in the same parentheses. Don't ever do that. Okay, and that's 6x times negative 1. Okay, and that takes care of our 6x. We're done. Okay, negative 3 times 4, but it's negative 3. Multiplied by 4x, and then I take negative 3 times negative 1. Okay, and then the negative 3 is done, so I have all my products written down. So put 1, 1, 1, 1, nothing there. 6 times 4 is 24, and x, 1 plus 1 is 2. 6 times negative 1 is negative 6, and it's just x to the 1. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12, and we just have the 1 power, so x to the 1 power. Negative 3 times negative 1 is 3, and I don't have an x variable there. Okay, now we have some x powers that are the same, first and first. So what I need to do then is draw out my spaces. X to the second, so blank x to the second plus blank x plus blank. So x to the second, I have 24. For x, that means I'm looking for x to the first, and I have these two right here. So those need to be added. So negative 6 plus negative 12 is negative 18. So negative 18 goes there. And then I have my constant, 3. Okay, next problem. X minus 8, 5x minus 2, so the operations multiply if I don't see a sign. All right, so make sure your x's, you have a 5 on that one, but a 1 on this one. So we first start with the 1. We got to distribute the 1 to everything in this parentheses. So 1 gets distributed to 5. So it's 1x times 5x. Remember to get the x's right. And the 1 needs to be distributed to the negative 2. So it's 1x times negative 2. We can eliminate the 1x and we're at the end of the road. But now we have to distribute the negative 8 to these. Do it under. So negative 8 times 5x. And then negative 8 times negative 2. Okay, now make sure all your x's have powers. So 1, 1, 1, nothing, nothing, and 1, nothing at all. 1 times 5 is 5, and then on the x's, 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Then on the x's, it's just a 1, so it's x to the 1. Negative 8 times 5 is negative 40, and it's just a 1, so it's x to the 1. And negative 8 times negative 2 is 16. No x needed on that one. Again, we have a second power, a first power, and a first power. So since I have some powers that are the same, I'm going to draw out my spaces. So blank x to the second plus blank x plus blank. So for x to the second, I have 5. For x, I'm looking up x to the first. I have a negative 2 and a negative 40. So I need to add negative 2 to negative 40, and that gives me negative 42. Okay, and then you got 16. Okay, next page. 8x plus 7, and then I need a times operation, 2x plus 3. So for times, you look at this first one. When you're multiplying two parentheses, multiply the first number in the first parentheses. You distribute that to everything in the second. So 8x times 2x, and then back to the 8. 8x times 3, and then we're done with the 8. There's nothing else in there to distribute it to. Now the 7. 7 to 2, so 7 times 2. X, 7 times 2x. Sorry, you can't forget the x. And then positive 7 times positive 3. Okay, so 1, 1, 1, 1. So I take 8 times 2, that's 16. 1 plus 1 is 2, so it's x to the second. 8 times 3 is 24, and then x to the 1. 7 times 2 is 14, and that would be to the 1. 7 times 3 is 21. Okay, now again, we have powers that are the same, so I need to draw out my spaces to really think about it. Blank x to the second plus blank x plus blank. So x to the second, I have a 16. That's the only x to the second we're able to find in these products. Okay, so x. X means x to the first. I have these two, and we add. 24 plus 14 is 38. And then we have the 21. Okay, next problem. Negative x plus 1 times 3x to the second plus 1. So we got to make sure this x needs a number in front. It'd be a negative 1. I should see two big numbers in each parentheses. So I start with my negative 1. I distribute it to 3. But it's 1x times 3x to the second this time. Okay, back to the negative 1. We have to distribute that to positive 1. So negative 1x times 1. You can forget that then. You can ignore that. Now we distribute the positive 1 to these. So positive 1 times 3x to the second and then positive 1 times positive 1. Okay, put ones on your, that already has a 2, okay? So 1, nothing, nothing, 2, then nothing at all. So 1 times 3 is 3, and on the x's we go 1 plus 2, and that's 3. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1, and we just have the 1 on the power, x to the 1. 1 times 3 is 3, and we just have the second power this time, so x to the second, and 1 times 1 is just 1. This time the highest power is a 3, so it'd be blank x to the third plus blank x to the second plus blank x plus blank. Now x to the third, I have the 3. X to the second, not here, it's just right there, so that's a 3. So 3x to the second. And then x is x to the first, and that'd be negative 1, and then 1. Okay, so really I could have just wrote that all out. I mean, there weren't any powers that were the same, so I could have just wrote the plus out. Okay, negative 3x plus 10 times 2x minus 1. So it's a times. Make sure the x's have numbers in front, negative 3 and 2. And now we start doing the rainbows. So I distribute negative 3 to 2, which is negative 3x times 2x. I distribute negative 3 to negative 1, which is negative 3x times negative 1. That's done. And then I distribute 10 to each one, so it's 10 times 2x. And we have 10 times negative 1. Okay, all the x's, you'd have 1, 1, 1, nothing there, nothing, 1, nothing, nothing. So negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, and 1 plus 1 is 2. Negative 3 times negative 1 is 3, positive 3, and we just have the 1, so x to the 1. 10 times 2 is 20, and we just have the 1 as a power, so x to the 1 power. And then 10 times negative 1 is negative 10, no power needed. So I have a second, a first, and a constant. So I have 2 first powers, so we want to draw out our blanks. Blank x squared plus blank x plus blank. So x to the second, I have negative 6. Again, I should have circled that. Now let's circle where we have x to the first, 3x and 20. Add the coefficients, 3 and 20, that's 23. Then we have negative 10. Okay, we're going to cross that out. That's it.